Your mindset is not something that happened to you. It is something that was built, brick by brick, experience by experience, thought by thought, decision by decision, over the years of your life, through everything you went through and everything you were told and everything you believed about yourself and the world and what was possible for someone like you. Your mindset was built, which means it can be rebuilt. And that is the most important thing I am going to say today, not because it is the most complicated thing, because it is the simplest. Because in that one truth, your mindset was built and therefore can be rebuilt, lives the permission that most people have been waiting for their entire lives without knowing it. The permission to change. Not just your habits, not just your behavior, not just the surface level things that are visible to the world, but the deep, foundational, operating system level way that you think about yourself and your capabilities and your potential and what is possible for your life. That is what building an unstoppable mindset actually means. Not learning to think positive thoughts, not repeating affirmations until you believe them, not performing confidence while fear runs the show underneath. Building, constructing, deliberately and consistently laying down the mental architecture of someone who does not stop, who does not fold, who does not accept the verdict of their circumstances as the final word on what their life can become. But before I tell you how to build it, I need to tell you what you are building against, because the unstoppable mindset does not get built in a vacuum. It gets built in the context of a mind that has been running a very different program for a very long time. Most people are operating on a mindset that was installed in them before they had any say in the installation, a mindset that was shaped by the fears and the limitations and the unexamined beliefs of the people around them when they were young and impressionable and had no framework yet for questioning what they were being told. A mindset that was reinforced by failures that were interpreted as evidence of permanent inability rather than temporary setback. A mindset that was confirmed by a culture that is more comfortable with your compliance than your greatness, that profits more from your insecurity than your confidence, that benefits from you staying exactly where you are rather than becoming everything you are capable of. That mindset, the one most people are still running, was not chosen, it was absorbed. And it has been running so long and so quietly that most people have completely stopped questioning it. They take it as truth, as just the way things are, as an accurate reflection of who they are and what they can do and how much they deserve. It is not truth, it is programming. Old, outdated, unexamined programming that is costing you more every single day than you can probably calculate. And the unstoppable mindset is what replaces it. So let me walk you through what building it actually requires. The first thing it requires is the willingness to question everything you believe about yourself. Not some things, everything. Every belief you hold about your capabilities, your worth, your potential, your limitations, every single one of them needs to be placed under examination, not accepted as given, not treated as fact just because you have been carrying it for a long time. Examined, questioned, tested against the actual evidence of your life rather than the narrative you have constructed around that evidence. Because here's what most people discover when they actually examine their beliefs. The beliefs that have been limiting them the most are not based on solid evidence. They are based on interpretations, on conclusions drawn from experiences that could have been interpreted differently. The belief that you always fail is not a fact. It is a pattern detection that has been selective, noticing the failures and discounting the successes in a way that confirms what you already believe. The belief that success is for other people, people who have something you lack, is not a fact. It is a story that protects you from the risk of trying by convincing you in advance that trying is pointless. Question everything. not to replace one set of unexamined beliefs with another, but to create space between you and your thoughts, to discover that your thoughts about yourself are not you, they are just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. The second thing building an unstoppable mindset requires is learning to reframe failure completely. Not to pretend failure doesn't hurt, it does. Not to perform positivity about experiences that are genuinely painful and disappointing. That is not reframing, that is denial. Real reframing is something much more honest and much more powerful. Real reframing is the ability to look at a failure and ask, not what does this say about me, but what does this teach me? Not what does this prove about my limitations, but what does this reveal about what I need to learn? Not is this evidence that I should stop, but is this information that I can use to go better? The people who build an unstoppable mindset are not people who never fail. They fail constantly, repeatedly, sometimes spectacularly. The difference is that their relationship with failure is fundamentally different from the relationship that most people have with it. For most people, failure is a verdict. It is the world delivering its judgment on their worth and their capability. It is evidence of something permanent and fixed about who they are. For the person with an unstoppable mindset, failure is a teacher. An expensive one sometimes, a painful one often, but always a teacher, always containing within it the specific information needed to do better next time, always pointing toward the adjustment that turns this failure into the foundation of the next attempt. Build that relationship with failure, not by pretending failure is fine, by genuinely extracting the lesson and then moving, every single time. The third thing building an unstoppable mindset requires is developing what I will call forward vision. Most people live in a perpetual negotiation between the past and the present, between what has already happened and what is happening now, between who they have been and who they are today. And in that negotiation, the past almost always wins, because the past is concrete and real and confirmed, and the future is uncertain and unproven, and requires faith in something that has not yet shown itself to be true. But the unstoppable mindset is fundamentally future-oriented. It is anchored not in what has been, but in what can be, not in the evidence of the past, but in the vision of what becomes possible when you apply everything you have learned from the past to building something different. Forward vision means waking up every morning and orienting yourself first toward where you are going rather than where you have been. It means making today's decisions in the context of the life you are building rather than the life you have lived. It means allowing the future version of yourself, the person you are capable of becoming, to exert real influence over the choices you make today. This is not naive optimism. It is not pretending the past didn't happen or that the obstacles are not real. It is the deliberate choice to be more defined by your direction than by your history, more shaped by your possibilities than your problems, more driven by where you are going than haunted by where you have been. The fourth thing building an unstoppable mindset requires is learning to sit with discomfort without being controlled by it.
Because the unstoppable mindset is not comfortable. It never is. The person who has built an unstoppable mindset is not someone who has found a way to avoid discomfort. They are someone who has developed a fundamentally different relationship with it. Most people treat discomfort as a stop sign, as a signal from the body and the mind that this is too much, that the edge of what is safe has been reached, that the appropriate response is to pull back and return to familiar ground. And so they stop. Every time discomfort rises to a certain level, they stop. And the places where they stop become the walls of their life, the boundaries of what is possible for them, the invisible ceiling that keeps them from the things they most want. The person building an unstoppable mindset learns to read discomfort differently, not as a stop sign but as a direction sign, pointing toward the edge of the current self, toward the place where growth is happening, toward the exact location where sitting through rather than retreating from will produce the expansion that can only happen at the edge. Discomfort is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. often it is evidence that you are doing something right, that you are pushing against the boundaries of the old self in a way that is building the capacity of the new one, that you are in the exact territory where transformation happens. Learn to sit with it, not to enjoy it, not to pretend it is comfortable, but to stay in it long enough to discover what is on the other side. Because on the other side of the discomfort you are willing to sit through is always a version of yourself that the discomfort you were not willing to sit through would never have produced. The fifth thing building an unstoppable mindset requires is ruthless control of your internal dialogue. The conversation you have with yourself every single day is the most important conversation in your life, more important than any conversation you have with another person, more influential than any advice you receive or any feedback you get or any opinion anyone holds about you, because it is the conversation that runs continuously underneath everything, shaping your beliefs and your decisions and your relationship with yourself in ways that are so pervasive and so constant that most people have completely stopped noticing it is even happening. Most people's internal dialogue is a running commentary of self-criticism, self-doubt, worst-case scenario projection, and comparison to other people that would be considered abusive if anyone else said it to them. They would never speak to a friend the way they speak to themselves. They would never tell someone they care about the things they tell themselves every day in the privacy of their own mind. But they say it to themselves, over and over, in the first waking moments of the morning and the last thoughts before sleep, and in the quiet moments between tasks, and in the instant reflexive reaction to every challenge and every failure and every moment of comparison with someone who seems to be further along. Building an unstoppable mindset requires interrupting that dialogue, not once, every time. Every time the self-critical voice begins its familiar commentary, you interrupt it, not by suppressing it or pretending it is not there, but by challenging it, by asking whether what it is saying is actually true, or whether it is just an old recording playing in the absence of a better one, and then by replacing it, deliberately, with a voice that is not blindly positive but genuinely honest, a voice that says, yes, this is hard, but I can handle hard things. Yes, I failed, but I learned and I am trying again. Yes, I am not where I want to be yet, but I am moving in the right direction and the distance closes every day I show up. That voice, built deliberately, chosen intentionally, practiced until it becomes the default rather than the exception, that is one of the most powerful tools in the construction of an unstoppable mindset. The sixth thing building an unstoppable mindset requires is the daily practice of doing something that proves to yourself that you are who you are trying to become. Because mindset is not just thought, it is experience. It is the lived, daily, accumulated experience of being the kind of person who does certain things, who keeps certain commitments, who faces certain difficulties without retreating. Every day that you do something that the person with the unstoppable mindset would do, you are not just performing a behavior, you are generating evidence. Evidence that you are that person. Evidence that your identity is shifting from the person you have been to the person you are becoming. Evidence that the mindset you are building is not just a set of beliefs you are trying to adopt, but a reality you are actively living. The evidence compounds. After a week of daily proof, you have something to point to. After a month, you have something to believe in. After 3 months, you have something you can barely remember not being true. That is how the unstoppable mindset becomes real. Not through thinking about it, through living it. One day at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of choosing to be the person with the unstoppable mindset rather than the person you used to be. Now, let me tell you what the unstoppable mindset actually looks like in practice, because I want to take this out of the abstract and give it a shape you can hold. The person with the unstoppable mindset wakes up every morning and does not wait to feel motivated before they begin. They begin because beginning is what they do. Motivation might come, it might not. Either way, they are moving. The person with the unstoppable mindset faces obstacles without catastrophizing. They see problems as puzzles, as things to be solved rather than signs to be heeded. They ask, what can I do here, rather than why is this happening to me? The person with the unstoppable mindset does not compare themselves to other people in ways that diminish them. They use other people's success as evidence of what is possible rather than evidence of what is unavailable to them. They look at someone who has what they want and think, if they could do it, so can I, rather than they could do it, but I never could. The person with the unstoppable mindset is not attached to a particular outcome, but is absolutely committed to a particular direction. They understand that the path to where they are going will not look exactly like they planned, that setbacks will redirect rather than stop them, that detours are part of the journey and not proof that the destination is unreachable. And the person with the unstoppable mindset understands one thing above all else, that the mind is not fixed, that what they believe today does not have to be what they believe tomorrow, that with the right daily practices and the right relationship with their own thinking, they can construct a mental architecture so solid, so resilient, so genuinely oriented toward possibility and growth and forward movement, that the obstacles that stop most people simply become the terrain they move through on the way to where they are going. That is the unstoppable mindset. Not a personality trait you were born with or without. Not a gift some people have and others do not. A construction. a daily, deliberate, brick-by-brick construction of the way you think about yourself and your life and what is possible. You have been building your mindset your entire life. You just have not always been building it on purpose. Start building it on purpose. Today, one thought at a time, one reframe at a time, one decision to speak to yourself differently, face discomfort differently, interpret failure differently, and orient toward the future differently, one brick at a time, until what you have built is so solid and so real, and so fundamentally part of who you are that nothing the world throws at you has the power to stop you. That is the unstoppable mindset. Go build it.